Oh, and I guess I also kind of want to go over, all right. Hi, this is going to be the first, I guess, hopefully a long line of, just to add to the multitude of podcasts on YouTube. I wanted to do another podcast for this channel. I was helping someone do a podcast in the past, and I really feel like it was just a good format to be able to, like, transfer over on what I want to talk about and be able to talk about kind of like my own opinions. I feel I have some unique opinions and I like to be able to share them. So my name is, I guess without further ado, good way to start this. My name is Josh, and this is my co-host.
Hey, I'm AJ.
Yeah.
I guess that was my cue, huh?
Yeah, no, that was definitely your cue to jump in there.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. As we go on, we'll get a little bit better. Maybe give him a little bit. Maybe I'll have to just introduce him, you know.
If I forget or whatever.
Me.
Who am I again? I can't remember.
My name's Jack.
Yes.
I am Jack's
I'm
bleeding
Jack
heart.
Frost.
No, the Fight Club thing where he's like, I am Jack's struggling ego or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Or
Right.
I am Jack's pancreas constantly causing him like to lose sugars or something. But I do want to actually not just kind of shoot into like I came from another podcast, I didn't come from a podcast. I just helped a friend start a podcast. I haven't taken off yet. It was called the Red Eye Hour, and he's just doing stuff with other people. And it wasn't because of like anything negative that just ended a relationship. He always wanted to do a podcast, and he didn't know how to start on the internet. He's an older guy. I knew things about the internet, so I helped him kind of get started on his podcast way. But I kind of wanted to do my one myself after I saw him kind of take that on. So, but we didn't really have a goal when we started, and I don't know. It's not necessarily where I want to move forward or do things, but I do want to kind of have like at least some structure to have something to talk about, not just like aimlessly dick around. I mean, it's I kind of want to be able to like consistently. For one, I've been struggling to create content for a long time. As you can see on the channel that I'm going to be putting this on, I've been wanting to put stuff out, and I'm lucky to get even one thing out every couple of months. And going places and doing GoPro stuff, I'm still wanting to do, and you still might see that on the channel. But as for the podcast, I want to talk about just things that I could vocalize, like my own views and beliefs on, and kind of have a place to just put my platform. If nobody ever listens to that, that's fine. If it's just something I could even just give to a family member or something, I want to talk to and be able to explain, just my own opinion in my own like formatted way. And my friend here, he's an interesting guy to talk to, and I think I hopefully when we get bored, because later on I do want to kind of like get to the point, like kind of on a little bit of our background before we get moving too far into the podcast, so you at least feel like you relate to us some degree. But I feel he shares different beliefs than me. I feel like we go different routes on things, and I feel like it would be a unique dialogue, and we like each other, so at least I feel like it would be moving somewhere. So I guess the topics that we would kind of hit on, and I want to put a question mark on a couple of these, but the ones that I kind of had written out, and he might even add on when I kind of get back to introducing him. But the topics that I was looking at was like news, current events. If it like interests me, I'd love to like jump into the dialogue. But when it comes to some news, I'm a very politically person. I love politics, and I love talking about politics. I've always enjoyed talking about politics, but right now it's just like very divisive, that I feel like if I throw anything into politics, it's always going to be a divisive argument. They'll be just continually arguing the same and belaboring the same point. So unless I feel I could add such a niche response that I have not seen anywhere on the internet, anywhere, we may not stray too far into politics, especially since we don't differ terribly on it, on a lot of politics. So I don't want to get into it, but I do love politics, and I want to jump into it at some point. I'm hoping like chiller heads start prevailing soon, and we get to all talk shit on our politicians and hate one another just in an old-fashioned way. But until that day, I don't know about politics. But we both love movies, and he knows fucking actors offhand like crazy.
I've been a student of cinema, I guess, a little bit.
And we both kind of want to make our own cinema, or at least that's always well, his is more of a book right now, but I could see you working into like film adaptation. You seem like a very visualistic guy when you're explaining it.
Yeah. No, my whole goal is to, I guess, turn a series of books into a TV show or like movies or something.
Yeah, and he has a really kind of interesting character. With again, don't let me put any words in his mouth, but it sounds like like a Tintin-esque character. So it solves types of crimes, the crime of the week type of thing. But it's really interesting that it's all connected into one cohesive story. He really got a lot of ideas that I think are fun. I think it's fun to even work off of and listen to. Mm-hmm. And he writes already. Like, I mean...
we always talk about writing. We always talk about creative stuff, creative process. I like talking about that.
Yeah.
Different stuff. Sometimes it's always different for people, so...
Yeah, and the books, we both enjoy books, and we're going to definitely get into books that we, like, recently read, or if they, like, tie into it, or, as for him, books that he's writing. Or stories that he's working on, or small short stories that he's working on. Yeah. I think talking about geopolitics is sometimes fun. I have a YouTube channel on here that I'm not like in cahoots with him or in a minute thing, but I'd love to shout out. Caspian Report is like kind of a geopolitic kind of guy, and I like talking about. So I wouldn't mind talking about politics as they pertain to like culture and historically, like why an area may be like in such like turmoil. Like I don't want to give too biased a response, and obviously coming from my background I couldn't even give too much of a basis, but I like to always look at cultural differences and things that maybe not being shown too much on the internet when it comes to some kind of politics. But then that goes back to the original argument on politics, that it's a really divisive thing. Like I love divisiveness, but I don't like it where I can't feel like I'm actually moving forward or anywhere, and I'm constantly backtracking to the people that are like easily offended by, just singular sentences in certain topics and stuff, or words. I really would feel like I want to be able to lay down my ideology, and not feel like I have to step on eggshells to get there.
No, that makes sense.
History, huge fan of history. I wouldn't mind getting a lot of topics about history.
Anything we both from talk about history for
fall of Carthage. The history of China that's been shut off from the Western world. I mean, now like Japan came to be, the battles they took on Korea, recent wars in Africa that settled places like the Congo and made some areas stable, and other areas like Africa terrible, like on the eastern and western sides of the Northern Horn.
We can talk endlessly about fun historical things.
Yeah, history.
And I know a bunch of weird random
for history. And I kind of like how it all kind of ties together. When I was like kind of growing up, I was like, man, I was always kind of cut off from like certain sections of history. Like you get like World War II, or here, and then Britain, now we're America. And it's like you kind of skip a lot of things. You don't really know how anybody met in the middle.
Right.
And I love those historical topics.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And then I want to get into stories about each other. I think I've had some unique things in my life that I'd love to talk about and be able to talk about on film, mainly because don't feel like I just need to be able to share some stories, and I think he has some unique stories in his life, so we might have like certain times where the story of the week might be like, oh, well, it turns out AJ had something really unique that he needs to tell you about in the story, or maybe it's just an allegorical story and we just wanted to make something fun,
Right.
So I would love that to be kind of like another topic. So these are just, and I love comics. I'm like a huge comic guy, and he loves the movies too, and he knows a good percentage about
I always ask about I can always ask comic book questions.
Yeah, so I would love to talk comics. I love the Comics Explained guy, the Variant Comics on here. I watch a lot of their stuff, but I also read comics myself. I don't know if I want to move the cameras too much right now because it was already hard enough for me to set up. But at one point, you're going to see certain sections of the wall. And
use your imagination. Yeah, there's more of the wall has comics on.
Yeah, as you can see, this is a cracked out version of an Applebee's behind me. Somebody at Applebee's was on drugs. Decided to. Yeah, I fed him dopamine and a little bit of DMT, and he just dopamine, like that's a hard drug. I gave him some acid and DMT, and then held a gun to his head, and he decided to direct raid my room.
Right.
Oh, Kirk is on. Yeah, everybody knows Kirk is on. He's a very good educational channel, and his views on nihilism, I think, is like his prolific, or I call it prolific nihilism until I actually watched his video. I think he calls it positive nihilism. I really like his view of it, but I kind of held some aspects of it, and I'm glad he gave it. I know it's not reflecting well on most of the screen, but I'm glad he kind of gave a name to it, and we may even get into topics like, I love philosophy too. I'd love to get into topics. Me and him actually get very good philosophical talks, and I would love to get into any topic or debate anything. I'm very, I don't know, I kind of like to not say contrarian because I don't really want to push to that narrative, but I like to be devil's advocate a lot. So I will push views that I could push views that I don't necessarily hold just to get to the root of the matter, or hopefully move forward. I never want to get, again, I love divisiveness, but I love divisiveness where it's funny. There's either content we could build from it, maybe. I mean, I could see there being good parts of being just divisive, but I don't want to be divisive for a second. You have a YouTube channel. You just go find one of them. They're all hatred. Right. I mean, I already hate everything. I don't need to hate more. I mean, so I think that kind of covers a lot of things that we're looking to do. News, we like to do that. We all love current events. We have an eclectic view of like things we find interesting and stuff, and we want to get into a lot of these topics. And we'll always kind of like come each week with at least somewhat of a structure. We may not get to everything, but we'll at least know at the beginning of each episode will be at least. I want to give kind of like a good overview of what we're going to be hitting, and hopefully we actually cover something, not just aimlessly beating around the bush and stuff like that.
Right, no aimlessly wandering, really.
Yeah. So, I don't know, do you have anything that you would like to tell about yourself that you think you like to, like, I don't know, like, maybe do on the podcast, or even just, I don't know, like, what is unique about you that you think of, like, we got into it that would make it interesting to watch?
So, well,
give these motherfuckers a reason to stare at our ugly mugs.
I'll try to help. I'll do a little bit. I'm by trade I'm a journalist, so I like to ask the questions. I like interviews. I've always liked interviews. I've always thought I've given good interviews because I try to treat it just like a conversation. So
you do feel like you ask the questions that move it forward. Like, I feel like if I get
so that's kind of what I think I'll do here. I'll ask questions to move things going. I'll keep you were talking about, there's some structure and some goal. I'll keep that in mind, kind of just by practice or by proxy, really.
Well, it's mainly for me. I hate to say it. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to make some rigid thing. It's mainly because I ramble. My brain shoots in just weird directions constantly.
We both do that. Yeah. So if I can think of it in terms,
you at least keep me on track. I don't know if I can help you. But I feel like the way you said about questions, when you do seem to ask things, like when I get to the point where it's like, what am I saying? And you just add in that question, and I go, right, that's where I was actually leading to. Sorry about that.
I can always think of something to ask or something, there's no shortage there.
Yeah.
But that's why I see my role here is we'll keep things going and keep the questions coming.
That's actually how we met, him being a journalist. I guess the story for this episode is that I ride one wheels. Actually, I put this behind me not because I'm trying to show off my one wheel. Actually, it's kind of taken apart right now because my tire's broken and I stripped the things to get it completely thing. So I'm waiting to get a grab it to rip those things off, but you don't need a van wide it. I literally was just setting it there to hold that back thing shut because that door will not stay closed. Yeah, those things, it got lithium battery in it.
Muscles for van away.
Yeah, but I was mainly just showing it. But we met because I was riding it not too long ago, and I ride with one of my cats. You might see them run across the screen if we continue filming in here, and I was riding one of my cats on my shoulder, and he stopped by and he's like, I write stuff for the paper, we kind of like articles like this. Tell me, why do you ride around with a cat on your shoulder?
Right. I just pulled over and was like, you got a second to talk, bro? And we turned into a thing.
Yeah.
And here we be today.
Yeah, so a legitimate fucking news article right there.
We got him his 15 minutes of fame. Now we'll see if we can do it again.
Yes. No. I don't need the fame. You got it covered that I'm depressed, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Big words.
I don't give a hell about this because I thought it was kind of funny because, it's just like, in the title, it's just like out of everything that I told him, you're like, yeah, I try and get rid of my depression. Oh, there's that sad kid and his cat on his little board.
Right, exactly. It's like, darn. Well.
Yeah. And then it came out with a different version in the Wamigo take that you don't have much control
depression.
Over. It like capitalized the depression in a different color. It's like, oh, he's a sad one, isn't he?
I felt so bad, but it's so funny.
It is pretty funny. I made me laugh. I loved it.
It's so funny. Oh, well. It's got to be known for something, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so Cool. So
Yeah, and with current events, obviously that's the business I'm in, is current events. And,
so that's why we wanted to kind of get into news. I mean, not like everything news that is worthy, but
right. I'm not
we'll
going to
definitely
dissect
covering it. Yeah.
I'm not going to dissect it. We'll talk about it. Cover it. Like I'll pull up Instagram. I like following right now. I really like following like some like Ukraine war accounts and things like that. Trying to keep track of stuff like that, because that's one of the easiest ways, is to follow the folks who are directly involved on Instagram.
That is actually the great thing about social media, to be honest with you. Like,
it's really weird. We can talk about that too, because I've thought about this, how weird it is to watch.
Actually, I wouldn't mind making that a topic in our next episode, is kind of going over, like, I mean, I my opinion on Ukraine, not like I'm against it or anything, but I do think it is interesting, though, how I do have access to that Ukrainian person that is down there, right there, and they just happen to have a fucking Samsung on them, and they're like, yep, this is 8K, so you get to see exactly like the bullet holes and stuff like that. That is unique, like we are living in during the Iraq thing, we didn't have that, like we're living in a generation
that was Iraq, and even those, like,
it's kind of, you get every once in a while cell phone footage, like on the old maybe Razor phones or something.
Right, it's blurry, but you got it. But no, with the Ukrainian situation, it's literally just everybody's got
this little internet stuff there. So like every single one of them, just like, here you go. This is what's happening, word for word.
We've got a war playing out in real time that we can easily access and see, and it's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And we could dive into more interesting than just the Fahrenheit 451 comparisons. Like, we don't care about war. We're in this dark age where we can't watch stuff on thing and care about it.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Okay, we can talk for days about stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. I think I
can get through your outline.
Yeah, at least my outline. I just wanted to tell everybody what the podcast. I'm doing a this is it may not even be called episode 1. If it is, it's gonna be called podcast 0.0. So you get introduced.
We'd call it episode 4.
Oh yeah. Okay, we're gonna start with episode 4. So this is actually episode 4.
Right.
What call the CoR Podcast episode 4, and then after that will be obviously episode 1, because are you stupid?
Right.
But and then we're gonna do Now You See Me. And then we're going to do Now You See Me 2 as the next 2 episodes, because that movie has forever ruined naming and all of things.
It makes sense to us, okay? It makes sense. You soon will learn.
Yeah. And then after that, it's XXII. I mean, you guys know how numbers work and words. Oh, yeah, one of the kittens.
Kitty. Hello.
This is Kiko.
Hello, Kiko.
She will also be a co-host, because when she gets into heat, she insists on yowling.
Hello. Where's my face?
She wants to eat your shit.
Yep. She didn't like that so much.
Yeah, no, she did not at all. Yeah. And then I was going to go over some of my influence, but I guess I don't really know. We can make that a topic another time, to be honest with you. I really think this is like...
Well, I know what you like is a.
I mean, the goal is not to be like I mean, I really just feel like
a more
sometimes
thoughtful approach to talking about stuff, more context with stuff, not necessarily blowing past it.
I feel like some people. I'm very open in real life. I'm not famous on YouTube, but I do have like a select amount of people that I talk to on a regular basis, and I feel like sometimes I don't. I get assumptions about like my politics because it's from other people, because I talk to people about everything. I think this is more for me. I'd love to be adored and be famous and make money off of this, but I don't know, just being able to have my opinions out there like in a way where I feel like I actually eloquently just told everybody, and then I don't have to backtrack like all the time and just be like, well, actually exactly how I feel on that, because I actually said it in episode 4.
Sure. Right.
Yeah, like I said it in that episode, so I could go back, and I'm hoping to like get better. I want to be able to like eloquently do it, and actually, in hopes, I've been watching some people that are like even like do debate and stuff like that, and I would love to get into that, but I don't want to do it coming from ignorance. So I want to be able to practice, and also just motivation. When I was doing the podcast with that guy, like it's not exactly the art that I was wanting to produce at the time.
Right.
And I didn't imagine myself even wanting this right now. But now I do, because I feel like it motivates you to continue making work. And if I want to, sit there and do nothing with my life and just continue, like, being sad that I didn't try at any of my making any YouTube videos, you got to get practice in it. I'm never going to get to the point where I could produce film quality stuff without at least producing something. Right. And I feel like the podcast is a good way to like start with me actually just producing something. I feel like it was easy for me to do it with him, and it wasn't even something I was invested in because it was more his project than mine. And I might even link those of you truly would like to see my first 3 or 4 episodes of me talking over this guy, but of the Red Eye Hour. And actually, I might even do it just to promote him a little bit because I still, again, like I said, I still like Jeremy. He's a great guy. He's a friend of mine, and I'd love people to go jump on and follow his stuff too. They see this and they think that's a good idea. They should. But it was a good way. It was easy to put those together, and I'm producing something, and I can feel good about it because I get to practice the editing. I've always wanted to make skits and movies, but how do you do that by yourself without at least putting your hand into making just any video at all?
Sure.
Thanks, Kiko. Man, we don't need your scratches right now. But I gotta put some effort in, and and just practice, and then I'll get to the point. Oh, that edit looks great, and then I can maybe translate that into making a story or nothing at all, and then we could focus on some of that stuff, or we can work that into skits into our show and make that part of the podcast and stuff. Because he actually kind of got an acting bit himself. I've told him some of the stories about like making like a funny small town Batman, and he had like a voice for it that I thought was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I can do a Batman voice.
So he might jump into it, but to be able to even get those, I need to get to this. And so I am now motivated to be in. I wasn't motivated in the ones past, even though I was there. But I do want to start producing podcasts. And I don't know, it'd be fun to get into some public discourse. I feel like I do. Nobody really follows, I think, my doctrine to some degree, or it's hard to expect anybody to. And it's not like I have the greatest ideas. I don't think any ideas of mine should be galvanized or turned into anything terrible, but I do feel like I'm aggressively against both parties, so to an equal amount, and a point where I think it's funny sometimes, and sometimes it's just to get a little bit off my chest since I can't see anybody I can vote for. I voted for myself last election, so I don't know if I should say that on camera.
Oh well.
How many votes you get last election? Because I got one.
You got one.
More than you.
More than me. I got none.
I got none. Yeah, you guys see, everyone's a loser.
Come on now, really.
I am the winner, Trump.
Heck that.
I'm the winner for all things. All right, well, I think this is good for episode 0.0.
0.0.
Cool. This is Josh signing off. I might get to the point where I want to tell you guys to subscribe and like things, but I don't need that superficial love. I only want it if you really want to give it to me. Goodbye.
If you feel like it.
Namaste. Ooh, that actually does cut it off sick. Can I stop you? I know I already thanked you all for listening to our podcast and expect more of these to come, but I just wanted to add a little bit more on. I have recently talked to the person that I used to do the old podcast with over at the Red Eye Hour, Jay Meeks, and he's letting me post the 4 episodes that I made for him, and we made together over on this channel as well. So if you were interested or intrigued by anything that I've said or brought up about my time with the Red Eye Hour, you should be seeing them here soon. I'm going to try and place them intermittently so you don't feel like it's just a wall of info, but yeah, be expecting some more of that.